A new bill just dropped in the United States, and if it passes, millions of Americans abroad and millions more still living in the US could be forced to choose which country they belong to. That's right, dual citizenship could be banned. Senator Bernie Moreno announced what he calls a patriotism bill, saying if you want to be an American, it's all or nothing. But what does all or nothing really mean? Who's actually affected? And could this become law? Today, we're breaking it down clearly. The facts, the reactions, my honest take, and what might happen next. First, let's start with what we know. Bernie Moreno is a senator from Ohio. He's in his late 50s. He was born in Bogota, Colombia, and at age 18, he became an American citizen, stating, "One of the greatest honors of my life was when I became an American citizen at 18, the first opportunity I could do so." Okay, great. So we can see where he's coming from, and we can see his potential biases. By the way, for transparency so that you can see my biases, my name's Josh. I'm from the United States, and I've been working and living outside of the US off and on since 2009. I feel very American. I'm culturally American, and even though I have a daughter who's lived most of her life in Portugal, she's growing up in an American household, and she also feels ties to America. Also, for full disclosure, just a few months ago, I applied for Portuguese citizenship since I met the legal requirements in Portugal to apply for citizenship. So that's my bias. The proposed bill is called the Exclusive Citizenship Act of 2025, and if passed, it would ban dual citizenship for Americans. Effectively, US citizens who also hold citizenship would be forced to choose one nationality. It's either the US or the foreign citizenship. Also, if someone applies for a foreign citizenship in the future, they would automatically lose their US citizenship under the bill. Another thing to note here is that the bill would require the US State Department and the Department of Homeland Security, or DHS, to track people with dual citizenship, likely through a new database. Here's some other key bits of information that have come out online. Dual citizens would likely need to formally renounce their foreign citizenship or US citizenship, essentially declaring which one they keep. If a person doesn't choose within a certain time frame, they could automatically lose their US citizenship. Once US citizenship is revoked under the law, the person would be treated as a foreign national under immigration law. So that's the meat of what we know. But let's talk about who's actually impacted before coming to my personal take and the likelihood of this passing. So who's impacted? Well, actually a lot of people. By my best guess, around 11 to 13% of Americans. To be honest, this isn't generally what we talk about on this channel. We're definitely not a news channel, and we don't like to get too political. But this bill impacts a lot of people in our audience, like yourself, as you make a decision on where to move abroad and what your motives are. All right, allow me to digress just a moment, because this nuance is really important for later and in the context of the 40 million that could be affected. Many Americans, when searching for a foreign country to reside in, do take into consideration what citizenship by naturalization requirements are, as well as citizenship by ancestry. It's often said that the US is a melting pot, and it certainly was as the newly formed country was founded and populated. People have ancestral ties that allow them, through parents, grandparents, and even great-grandparents, to gain a foreign citizenship, which ultimately gives them the right to live or access other countries more easily. It allows them to get connected with their roots or another branch of their family tree. On a very human level, that's a great thing. On a practical level, these people can bypass certain timely, costly, and/or confusing immigration processes and just move, work, and live in that foreign country. So this is where it hits our audience, and likely you. Removing this, for lack of a better way of putting it, sucks. For those looking to naturalize in a place, which is the process of living somewhere for a certain period of time, generally in an effort to integrate or possibly assimilate to the new culture, this bill would remove it as a search criteria, or at least give you serious pause for consideration. For those that are already naturalized in a foreign country, this news likely hits you like a ton of bricks. You've done all the things and ticked all the boxes, and you're now possibly being asked to tear up something that you've built for yourself and your family. Okay, back to the 40 million potential people impacted. Look, that number is just a guess. The reality is that we don't really know the number because currently the US government doesn't track it. Probably because they've never needed to. We've allowed dual citizenship, so the need to track it just didn't exist in practical terms. It's unclear how many Americans could be affected if that happens, since U.S. law does not require people to declare or register dual citizenship, and the government does not maintain a registry. Another thing that doesn't get tracked is how many Americans live outside of the U.S., but the best guess is around 5 to 6 million people. The AARO says 5.5 million people, so the vast majority of dual citizens live in the U.S., and those are the focus here. It really appears as if they're being targeted for their loyalty, but maybe I have it wrong. What I've seen from the comments and content online is that people are individuals and they'll have their own criteria for their ties, just like Senator Moreno does. Why was he so quick to pledge allegiance to the United States over Colombia? That's his personal sentiment and stance. He likely felt that America was better than Colombia, if nothing else, than for him personally, if not completely. I've seen less high-profile people hold very close to their parents' national identity, and this is especially true for younger people. I would argue that making them choose citizenship wouldn't actually change how they feel in their heart. But for work, practical, or familiar ties, they'll keep their American citizenship. The ability to live in the States, earn USD, and hold such a strong passport is possibly a wiser decision than to keep their other passport. What does it fundamentally change in the favor of the US government? I would say nothing. As American citizens, we have a tax filing obligation wherever we go. So in theory, the more American citizens, the higher potential for tax revenue. Making people choose, or effectively choosing for them, would only decrease that number. So what do I think of all this personally? I hate it. My initial reaction yesterday when the news broke and I grabbed my phone between sets at the gym to see my friend sent me this article was one of disgust, frustration, and conflict, to be honest. I've always felt a love and loyalty for the United States. If my collegiate soccer career didn't turn out the way it did, I would have joined the US Marines back in the early 2000s. That's a different story for a different day. Speaking of soccer, when the US men's or women's national team is playing, I'm trying to watch no matter where I am in the world and what time the kickoff is. When it's World Cup time, it'll be on home soil this summer in 2026. I'll be rooting for the Stars and Stripes to win it all. Do I agree with everything that the United States does, politically or militarily? Abso-freaking-lutely not. We do some things that make us look like a hot mess, but just like any family relationship, you're not going to be 100% of the time in lockstep with the others. But that doesn't make you any less of a family or have any less ties. A major thing that I'm conflicted about in this is that it smacks at the very idea of freedom. If we take the proposed bill as it is, it's removing options that people currently have and have currently had. And it feels gross to me. You're going to strip people's citizenship that already have dual citizenship? That's wild. This freedom versus loyalty debate has just started to happen. Dual citizenship is not a threat. It's an asset that reflects the reality of an interconnected world where Americans live, work, serve, and advocate for U.S. interests on a global scale. Questioning loyalty because a citizen possesses another passport is not just wrong, it's an attack on the millions of Americans whose lives span borders. Here's the good news. Right now, the odds seem low that this bill is going to pass for a number of reasons. Practical, political, logistical, potential constitutional and judicial, as well as Senate math and party division. Practical. Many Americans hold dual citizenship, and that includes influential and high-profile people, including the president's wife and son. Political. There's likely to be strong opposition from constituents, immigrants' rights groups, expatriate communities, and others who see dual citizenship as a benefit due to mobility, global ties, and security. Logistical. Tracking all of these dual citizens and enforcing a choose us or them rule would require huge administrative infrastructure and cooperation between agencies, not to mention the cost. By the way, aren't we trying to reduce government spending? Potential constitutional and judicial challenges. Some argue that forcing dual citizens to relinquish one nationality, especially if they don't voluntarily renounce it, might run into constitutional issues. Senate mathematics and party division. With a closely divided Senate, any controversial bill that lacks broad bipartisan support will struggle. At this point, let me know your reaction. Does this bill make you feel safer or less free? But hey, if videos like this help you stay informed while planning your life abroad, hit that subscribe button. We're so close to 100,000 subscribers, and by joining the community, it really helps these conversations reach more Americans around the world. And don't stop here. YouTube says this video right here is the one that you should watch next, so click it and let's get moving. Bye.